are entering the Logan Zone on WRAL and 99.9 The Fan. Here are your hosts, former East Carolina and NFL coach Steve Logan and Adam Gold.
Good Sunday morning to you. Adam Gold and Coach Steve Logan here on the Logan Zone. And we're going to play kind of a greatest hits package for you today because I'm going to start with one of your favorite tenants. It goes with the Wolfpack beating Louisville 39-25. It seems to me that these guys are up to the responsibility of winning.
That's exactly where that program is right now. And every time you win a game, the next one gets bigger. And I've been on a couple of runs like that as a coach where you're stringing together victories, and it's kind of like putting air in a balloon. Mm-hmm. How much is it going to take before it pops? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it can actually withstand all of the pressure. This is where North Carolina State is now. They are in that mode of we have a responsibility now. We're good. We're good. The chemistry has come together right before our eyes.
Yep.
The chemistry in that locker room and on the field is dynamic right now. Here's the trick. We're going to go to Pittsburgh this week. Now, I've coached there.
Right.
It's city football. They're going to go into that stadium, and it's going to be like a tomb. Right. Nobody's going to be.
Yeah. And they're not very good either.
They're not very good. Pittsburgh versus Notre Dame, it'll be packed. That's the way city football operates, like the University of Miami. You go down and play there. It's city football. So they're going to go up there. It's going to be Pittsburgh versus North Carolina State in a pro football stadium in a pro town. If they don't bring their own enthusiasm and energy, I'm talking about North Carolina State, watch out. This is a trap game from the beginning to the end. This is a trap game.
Yeah, and they actually have a week off after the Pitt game before they go back on the road to Notre Dame. One of the things that has been great about this football team all year long, and, you know, they blew the game at South Carolina. I'm not going to belabor that, but they still showed how good their offense could be. And we wondered if they would be big play enough.
Right.
But their wide receivers, maybe they're not great pro prospects, although I think they'll all get looks. But their wide receivers make plays down the field. And I know how much you like Ryan Finley. Their offense is looking like a big play offense at times.
Let me tell you something. Ryan Finley was dropping dimes into this man-to-man coverage. What Louisville did a smart thing on defense. Nobody had brought what we call a zero pressure on North Carolina State, and by that I mean there's no free safety.
Right.
They're bringing everybody and manning up on the wideouts, and they're saying, we haven't seen Ryan Finley and the wideouts do this. Let's make them beat us left-handed. That's what good defensive coordinators do. And guess what? They found out that Ryan Finley and these receivers, they were up to the task. So we've been talking about how they are a West Coast intermediate, and they go down the field with their passing game.
Yeah.
They prove that if you pressure me, I'm going to throw the ball right over your head, and I trust my receiver to go win that 50-50 ball, which they did, which is going to take us into the Duke game here in a minute, which is exactly why they can't win a game.
Yeah, it's funny because there's actually going to be a lot of talk about wide receiver play today, especially when we get to the Panthers as well. We showed a couple of highlights of the Stephen Lewis catches. The wide receivers catch the ball with their hands really well.
That's why God gave them hands. I used to tell kids they trap the ball on their chest. I tell them, God gave you these hands to catch balls with. Get them out in front, and you got to. In fact, there's a great shot. I don't know if we've got the clip, but one of the receivers goes up and he takes this football, and it's really more like a basketball rebound.
Right.
He doesn't catch it; he snatches it, and we call it's a snatch. Go up and snatch the ball down, but you know you can't be cradling balls with your chest if you're going to try to win a 50-50 ball.
Yeah, and that's again one of the things that State does well. The receivers also all have pretty good size too, and Finley's better now than he was at the beginning of the season. Is this a confidence thing that you what is it?
He's immensely confident, and so are the receivers, and so is the coaching staff, by the way. But I'm just going to tell you something about putting together a wide receiving core. It's really easy to go out and find a 5'9" high school football player that's got great quickness, pretty good hands, and all of those other kinds of things. And if you do that too much, you look up and your wide receiving core is really small. And you've got to have your X receiver, the split end, and preferably your Z receiver, which is your flanker. You need height and size for red zone and 50-50 balls. Your inside receivers, think Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola for the these guys, these slot receivers, Wes Welker. This is where you get inside and you're working all these option routes. This is the way that you put together a wide receiving core that is a true unit, not just a collection of athletes.
Well, we were watching the Louisville game, which was an ESPN broadcast. They had two former NFL quarterbacks, both Hasselbecks, Matt and Tim.
Right. Boston College.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
That's right.
Quarterback University for a while. And they were talking, glowingly about Lamar Jackson, and I get it. He was the Heisman Trophy winner. Right. But I think we saw two players, actually three if you count Ryan Finley, who I think opened some NFL eyes. And we can start with Nyheim Hines, the running back. Big plays out of the backfield in the passing game. He runs really well between the tackles. When you got a running back like that, man, it makes the passing game better, doesn't it?
Well, there's a saying in the NFL, and it's simply this, and you hear it all the time on the practice field, in the locker room, and in the meeting rooms. In the NFL, here's what they say: the more you can do. Because these roster sizes in the NFL are limited. And on game day, I think you're only suiting out like 45 players. So if you've got a running back, think Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey could go play an entire football game in the slot as a wide receiver if there were injuries that necessitated that. Think about it this way. We don't have any injuries. Put Christian in the backfield and let him be the running back for the entire game. But as we know, you can take that football player. He's a Swiss Army knife. He gets to go receiver, running back, a decoy. You can put him out on the outside of the offense and just let him run a takeoff route. If they happen to match a linebacker up on that guy, you're going to throw the ball to him.
Yes.
That's the way that game is played. But there's no doubt this young man, he's got a chance to play on Sunday. Yeah,
the other guy, I know there's some other things I want to get to about the offense, but Bradley Chubb, the defensive end, who was probably a first-round pick anyway, I would think is definitely a first-round pick. But he showed some lateral quickness. He was able to run with Lamar Jackson a bunch of times, and that's hard because he's playing a ton of snaps.
He is, but at the same time, this guy's a true edge rusher. He's going to be on the edge at the NFL level. He's shown the speed, the quickness, and the ability to what we call turn the corner, get around that tackle and come back on the backside of the quarterback. It's called turning the corner. But he's shown all of that potential. He's playing good football, looks like to have a great attitude. And again, the chemistry is what I keep coming back to at North Carolina State. You can see this chemistry developing. They're beginning to believe. But again, this week, watch out now, because it's going to be a dead stadium, and they got to bring their own energy to this football game.
Yeah, well, if you don't pay attention, you can get Iowa Stated like Oklahoma did, and that was at home.
Exactly.
I have two nits to pick with NC State before we move on to the Duke-Virginia game. Their red zone offense, sometimes I think they get a little too cute rather than stay with what really works for them. And the kicking game, the place kicking, is still not where it needs to be.
If and when North Carolina State gets their heart broken, it's going to happen with the field goal unit or the kick coverage unit. They're not right yet. They're not right yet. The field goal that was missed, by the way, if you look at the replay, it was a bad snap, not a very good hold, and thus the kick, the kick's awful as well. So that whole unit needs work. The kickoff cover unit, I still don't trust them. Every time they kick off, I'm going, whoa. I just don't trust them in the open field as tacklers.
All right, the Blue Devils, I think we could see something like this coming. And I really believe that Duke's demise offensively started in the Baylor game.
Without a doubt.
And everybody saw, oh, wait, their offensive line is not great, and their wide receivers aren't making plays. They did score a red zone touchdown. We got that going for us, which was nice in the passing game.
Got one.
That was good, but the rest of it kind of broke down.
Well, let me just read this to you. Daniel Jones was 14 out of 42.
I still can't believe that those numbers are
Well, let me just – they had a receiver at Duke. I'm not going to mention his name, but they had a receiver at Duke that was targeted 10 times, caught 2 balls. They had another receiver at Duke that was targeted 7 times, caught 1 ball. So you're talking 17 throws, and you get 3 catches. And some of them could have been thrown better. The majority of them should have been caught better.
Right.
And you can just see these 50-50 balls that you saw North Carolina State and Ryan Finley beating Louisville with. This is exactly the opposite end of it right here.
Got to catch those.
You got to make these plays. This is why I used to tell kids, this is why I gave you a scholarship. That's your job. You got to go down. You don't have to win them all, but you got to win enough to where the defense coordinator can't just continually pressure our quarterback.
And that's where you look at Daniel Jones, 14 of 42. And, yes, Daniel didn't play great, and we can talk about confidence in a second. But you have to have help. Completing a pass needs 2 things to happen. The ball has to be thrown well, and then the ball also has to be caught.
You also have to protect. And he was sacked 5 times, and I think he was probably hit another 10 times. So you're seeing a young man right now that's losing his confidence. He doesn't have a go-to receiver that I can identify.
Right.
I don't see him, falling back to, well, there's my security blanket, and I know I can make this throw to that guy. I don't see that. And so I know that Coach Cutt is over there going crazy on Sunday morning right now trying to fix all these problems, but it has manifested to exactly what we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
They've got problems.
Here's the other thing that would bother me if I were a Duke fan. Offensively, the problems in the passing game have now bled to the running game.
Without a doubt.
So if you can't, they're a team that has to be able to do both in order to be successful. It used to be they couldn't run it but could throw it. Now it's the other way around.
Let me tell you, I'm going to tell our fans a little secret.
Okay.
Here's a secret. Ready? Defensive coordinators watch film too.
That's true.
Okay, so here's what they're saying. Hey, guess what? They don't protect very well. I don't think those receivers can beat us. And pretty soon you look up and Daniel Jones is under center and he sees 2 safeties 6 yards from the line of scrimmage. Why can't we run the football? Because there's 9 men in the box and I've got 6 or at the most 7 blockers.
Right.
The arithmetic doesn't hold up, and this all, again, you talked about it bleeding over.
Yeah.
It's a cascading of events. When you get exposed in one area, it's going to cascade all the way down the pike, and you end up, all of a sudden, you become dysfunctional.
An angry Florida State team is coming to
What is Florida State? They've won 1 game?
Yes.
That's not normal.
No, that is not normal.
They will be angry.
And that was a shocking loss, the way they lost it last night to Miami. All right, North Carolina, we're going to talk about the Tar Heels. I don't know what their solutions are. I do know they played hard, and we will talk about the Tar Heels' loss to Notre Dame when the Logan Zone rolls on. North Carolina's dealing with a lot of inexperience. They knew that going into the season. And now the injury, and they had more injuries last night, or yesterday against Notre Dame. Those mount. You're basically playing down a recruiting class. I thought they battled. They just wore down.
They did. I felt when I was a kid, my mom read me that little story about the Dutch boy with his finger in the dike.
Yes.
And that's from the very beginning of that game. I just felt like I'm standing there with my finger in the dike. When's this thing going to blow up? And it was just a slow bleed. And eventually there's not enough offensive help.
Right.
And the defensive unit's on the field too long. They don't have good enough players.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to compliment the defensive coaches at Carolina. Those kids were playing as hard as they could play.
Yeah, I thought they played a pretty good first half.
They did. They're not giving up. They're just not good enough, and they don't have enough depth. And, the tackling is atrocious. It just is, and we've talked about tackling before.
Yeah.
But the kids on the defensive side of the football, they're playing hard, but there's just not enough help anywhere else on the team. As we've talked about, Coach Fedora's formula, go score 40. He's not scoring 40.
Well, they can't even score 20 right now.
And there's nothing left right now. So
they've scored 17 points in the last 2 weeks combined.
I would be getting a lot of young kids on the field and biting the bullet and just preparing this group. You're building.
Mm-hmm.
You're really building. This is just going to be a reload year, it looks like.
They have no choice but to get young kids in the field. Those are the only guys who are left. 341 yards rushing for Notre Dame. But from a coaching staff standpoint, you're always trying to be confident about what you do. How hard is it to really turn the page midway through they're barely midway through the season. How hard is it to turn the page this early?
I'll tell you what happened to me in my career at East Carolina. We had a year like this, and about week 5, I remember I went into my coaching staff and I said, we're going out in full pads the rest of the year, and we're going to do mini scrimmages, okay? By mini, I'm talking about 10 and 12 play snaps of full-speed tackle scrimmage. And what I did, I started spring ball.
Right.
And somebody said, well, we're going to get hurt. And I said, what difference does it make? It doesn't make any difference at this point. And we did that, and in fact, we set the table for the next year. And the next year, in fact, we went out and had a really good football team. But we had to go, and it was hard. But that's the tack that I took. And I don't know how Coach Fedora is going to approach it, but that's kind of where they are.
Yeah, we know they have the quarterback. Now they have to get the other things in place.
That kid, Chasserat, he's a good player.
Yeah, he is good.
He's going to have a really good career over there.
East Carolina didn't give up 60-plus points. I hate to be sarcastic there. Temple beat them 34-10.
Yeah.
But they did give up 523 total yards. It was, it's a nightmare that's going on
yeah.
over at East Carolina.
Yeah, it's really tough. I think they've hit some depths that they haven't seen over there in many years. I don't have any answers. I really don't. I'm watching it from a distance, and it's hard to watch. It is. It's hard to watch, and they're just going to have to, again, start spring ball, start over, keep recruiting, and keep building, and it's just there's nothing else to do at this point.
Yeah, and look, it's the American is a better football conference, and people give it credit. Temple's not even that good, but Temple's a capable team.
Let me tell you something. The teams in the American Athletic Conference are good, solid programs from Houston to Cincinnati to Memphis. I mean, these are teams that got good football players.
They
and
do.
Right now, East Carolina doesn't stack up.
All right, we're going to go to the chalkboard when we come back.
Yeah, man.
I'm fired up.
Pass routes.
We're going to talk about pass routes. The Panthers will be at Detroit at 1 o'clock on Fox 50, and we're going to go to the chalkboard. Coach Logan has his crayons. We'll be right back on the Logan Zone. We spent a lot of time talking about wide receivers already.
Right.
State's wide receivers, Duke's wide receivers, the Panthers wide receivers, maybe a week ago or against New Orleans.
Against New Orleans.
Maybe let Cam down. Their offense looked good last week. But show me how a wide receiver can throw an interception. People, pay attention.
I've used this term before. Wide receivers can throw an interception, and here's how this is done. The Panthers 2 weeks ago against New Orleans Saints, they ran this football play. Cam Newton faked to that halfback right there, and we expect that Sam linebacker to step up, and all we want this guy to do is run a 3-step slant route, which is the first route you ever ran in the backyard.
That's right.
Okay, 3-step slant route. Well, when we run this, the position of this corner determines how you run this pass route. In this drawing right here, that corner's head up, and if this wide receiver runs head up to that corner and runs inside, you have positioned your body between the thrower and the defender, which is a good thing. You've protected the throw. And this is the way you would draw this up in a playbook. Now, let me show you a couple of situations about what can happen to a wide receiver and how his responsibility to protect the throw. If you're the wide receiver, your responsibility is to protect my throw. All right, let's run the same football play. All right, let's put our little defensive end right here, and let's put our Sam linebacker right there. All right, same football play. Let's fake right here. We expect that Sam linebacker to step up. Do you see the position of this cornerback right here? He is inside.
Oh, see that? Look at that.
He is inside. If this wide receiver runs this route like this and that corner is already in position to get his body between the thrower and the catcher. This part of the route, this 3-step part of the route, that's called the stem of the route.
Okay.
This is exactly what happened to Cam Newton 2 weeks ago. He made this fake. This wide receiver ran this route in this fashion. The corner was already inside. When that ball came out, that corner goes bang right there, and he makes the interception. The receiver did not protect the throw by stemming the route. I'm going to show you one more little drawing here. All right, let's run this football play again. Now this corner is outside of the receiver. Once again, this route now has got to be run at this angle and then back inside like this, again, to keep this defender on the outside of the pass receiver.
Right.
So, again, back to this drawing right here. This is the one that got intercepted. This route, when this corner is inside, that route should have been run like this. You stem it and then break it inside.
Okay.
You protect the throw of the quarterback. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've torn the heart out of a wide receiver and showed it to him right before he died because I had a quarterback throw an interception, and I knew immediately the receiver did not stem the route and protect the throw from the quarterback. This is a concert. This is in relation. We all have to do our jobs here. So next time you're at the stadium and the quarterback throws an interception, hold your judgment until you see the film to see if the receiver ran the route properly.
I always blame whoever I like the least.
Blame the quarterback, blame the head coach.
So what you're saying here, the wide receiver should run that route, the stem part of that route, at the defender.
Always at the defender. I don't care if he's outside, head up, or inside. You stem the route at the defender, and that's your job, and we practice it every day, and I watched the Carolina defender not stem that route, and the moment that intercept, and it was a pick six.
Yeah.
It turned the whole game around, and everybody's going, Cam Newton's having a terrible day, and I'm on the couch going, the wide receiver, if that's my team, he's cut.
But it was your guy. It was Devin Funchess. You loved him.
I wasn't going to use the name, and I
Okay.
do love him. But we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes.
The Panthers looked like a competent offense for the first time last week.
They
I
did.
know New England's not very good
Not
defensively.
very good at all.
But I also thought the Panthers got back to doing some of the basic things that Cam likes to do, running the ball. I mean, they were not afraid. I thought Cam looked better as a result.
Cam did have he was 22 of 29. He had one bad throw that was intercepted, but he was 22 of 29. The thing that I'm still not trusting, because they're going to go to Detroit today. I don't think they're going to win that football game. I'm going to be a Debbie Downer here, but I don't think they're going to win. I think Detroit's really good. I don't trust the Panthers from the standpoint of against New England. When I watched that film in my office Saturday morning, I was shocked how bad the Patriots are on defense.
Terrible.
They're not coordinated. They're not fitting the run properly. The secondary's getting exposed because they don't have a natural pass rush. And so Carolina did what they should do. They beat a bad defense badly. But I'm not trusting them to go to Detroit and do the same thing.
We're going to tell you what's on tap when we come back and wrap up the Logan Zone next. Busy day of football on Capital Broadcasting Networks. We got the Panthers at Detroit at 1 o'clock. You've already dampened my enthusiasm.
I hope the Panthers win, okay?
On Fox 50. Green Bay Dallas is going to be interesting. The Cowboys don't look very good right now.
They don't.
We have a doubleheader, and I always love watching Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the game.
Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott. It's going to be a great game.
I agree. A lot of points. And then tonight on WRAL, the Chiefs at Houston. Deshaun Watson looks like he's got something.
Watch out. Remember when everybody said he wasn't accurate? He was the pro scouts. He's been pretty accurate the last 2 weeks.
He has been good. We'll do it again next week.
See you, man.
See you. Bye.